That's a really good question.
I thought about wearing it, bling.
Wrestling's pretty good. Thank you. Anyone else?
You roll with the punches.
No, thank you.
I love to hit.
Frank Castle is in my bones. Frank Castle is in my bones.
Like, you know what? I can't look at this.
And the things that I saw in him and that he saw in me, too.
You kind of shake your head when you see directors that are held in high regard in the industry feel the need to say negative things about comic book movies because A, they're proven wrong at the box office. B, why do you need to say anything negative about people or artwork in the industry? Is that your thought?
Oftentimes, look, everybody's responsible for themselves and everybody chooses to say what they say, but oftentimes those directors, it seems, have been in situations with doing junkets or an interview situation. And, it's a question that gets thrown in there. And rather, it's not like them going, get me the New York Times. I want to tell somebody how I feel about comic book movies. It's also an adjunct or an adjacent to a zillion other questions they're being asked. But, in our culture, in our very tribal culture, somebody like Martin Scorsese referring to comic book movies as, amusement parks or theme park rides gets a bunch of people who have made comic book movies their lives for the last 10 years, very unhappy. It kind of gets their dander up. You're asking a guy who made Goodfellas, what he thinks about Spider-Man. What answer do you think you're going to get? He's a very serious filmmaker. And he's a man who's of a certain age and stuck in his ways. You should not be surprised that's his response, but doesn't take away from your enjoyment of the thing. Guess what? For every old filmmaker who's like, I don't get it, there's a bunch of young filmmakers who are like, I get it and I want to do it. We don't have to ostracize the people that maybe don't get or are into the same movies we are. But, if I would urge filmmakers, me being one, just, I guess maybe I've got the benefit of having been a creature of the internet since 1995. So I've got it way ahead of almost every other filmmaker when it comes to public relations and talking to the public and talking to the press than maybe any filmmaker except Peter Jackson. He was on the internet before I was. And that means we've just made all our mistakes early on. We just learned early on, don't answer that question. That's just setting you up for failure. Just redirect. If somebody's like, what do you think about these comic book movies? Just talk about I love all movies. Movies are my life and blah, blah, blah. A lot of people don't have that experience. There was a time where filmmakers didn't really do a bunch of press. I'm one of the generation that was pushed forward to sell our movies because we didn't have any movie stars in the movies. No other way to sell the movies. So put the person who scrimped and saved to tell their story and shot at a convenience store late at night. That's interesting. Let them go out and sell the movie and tell the story. So I'm well practiced in going out there. And I'm not going to say those are gotcha questions, but I'd be smart enough to be well, I'm not going to answer a question like that unless the internet come for me, because the internet has come for me before. You got to remember, man, I've been around so long. I've been canceled multiple times. I was canceled after Too Fat to Fly. So I've kind of understand how to handle or deal with the press when they ask what could be a leading question like that. This is not me condemning the press by any stretch of the imagination, but if you ask Terry Gilliam what he thinks about comic book movies, what answer you think you're going to get? To me, that almost goes without saying. And I understand it creates clickbait. A lot of people oh, did you see what he wrote? This director, he thinks that this is that, ... Everybody's still free in this country for a few minutes at least to express how they feel about things. I would just urge my fellow filmmakers that when asked, what do you think about comic book movies? Just hit them with, I love them. I watch every one of them, for everyone's sake. Now, I don't say that because I'm like, that's what I do. I literally watch every comic book movie. So I'm being 100% authentic and stuff. But for those cats to just avoid the headache of a bunch of people like picking apart their filmography, like, you know, they had people on the internet tearing down Martin Scorsese's body of work because of what he said about comic book movies. You want to avoid that sort of thing? Just give them a salute and move on. They're movies just like any other movies, for heaven's sake.
I know you got to go real quick, Kevin. If you can give me your prediction for the next big Marvel threat based on Feige's comments, that's going to reveal itself soon. Are you thinking Galactus? You thinking Doom? What does that tell you?
I mean, well, there's a part of me that feels Galactus because like they want to bring FF in a big bad way, but I don't know, man. Like they got enough characters now that maybe like, you know, I'm not alone in this. This is not like a hot take, but feels like Secret Wars is coming. Which, you know, I thought the closest we'd ever get to Secret Wars was Captain America Civil War, where it's like, look at this, heroes fighting heroes. This is nuts. This is just like out of the comic books. But I don't know, man. Like in a world where they're doing the multiverse, you know, how far away is somebody like the Beyonder? How far away is the idea of you're all being brought to this place away from Earth where no one will get hurt, and you're all going to fight the shit out of each other? Like, that's the stuff of movie magic right there.
Yeah, man.
Maybe Galactus is on the way to that, or maybe one is on the way to Galactus. Because Galactus, you know, in terms of a world-ending threat like Thanos, it's about as big as it gets at Marvel. This is a character that eats whole planets.